Hi, everyone. I'm Josh Warden with another edition of the Stronger Together podcast. Thanks so much for joining us. It was a big September with the Public Policy and Advocacy Summit in Washington, D.C., and what a great time it was.
So Christian praying, thinking, arguing, debating, living is going to be crucial for this year. And I just urge you all tonight and back in your schools and in your churches, don't miss this moment.
That was Dr. Oz Guinness, one of the fantastic speakers of the conference, casting vision over Christian education and advocating for religious liberties, plus the opportunities to actually go to Congress, have meetings with members of Congress, and hear from other people at Capitol Hill was pretty fantastic. It was a lot of fun to be there. Let's hear from a couple of attendees. I got to sit down with Mike Allen, for example. He's the superintendent at Evansville Christian School. It's in Indiana. Talking about advocacy and how to get involved.
I choose to come to the Public Policy and Advocacy Summit because as a school leader, I have to know about a lot. And I can't know about everything at the depth that it's necessary to understand as you lead your families in recognizing what can come down the pipeline that can be that can impact them without them even knowing it's coming. So being here at the PPA Summit is really me leaning into what ACSI provides all of our schools in expert analysis, expert opinion, just what's coming down the pipeline and maybe even what's even here now that we have got to be ready for so that we can charge the hill.
How can Christian educators get involved in the first place in advocating for Christian education?
Starting the journey into advocacy can feel tough because you don't really know what you're doing if you've never done it and you don't know what you're doing. It feels like the stuff that, that's stuff other people do really well. But for me, what I found is find the people in your state that are doing it, find other schools that are doing it, and find that one little space. And sometimes for people, it's just communicating, hey, here's something that's happening in the legislature that could impact our school. Hey, here's a link to just click and put your name and say, I support this or I don't support this. And sometimes it's just, you gotta do it until it becomes something that now you do, It's not always new. So find those people that help support that. In Indiana, we have a couple of great organizations that help keep schools apprised on what those advocacy opportunities are. But if they're not finding you, go find them, because I can tell you, even if you're not doing it, it's still impacting you. If you are doing it, you're making a difference.
Let's hear, kind of on the same topic, but from a different voice in a different part of the country, Dan Kuiper, who's been at Valley Christian Schools in Arizona, also a big part of the coalition there. He's the executive director of the Arizona Christian Education Coalition.
Yeah, I've been part of Valley Christian Schools for 42 years, and about the last 12 years served as their head of school. And we had a great advocate down at our state legislature for school choice, but they retired from the Senate. They were the president Senate. And we would get together as Christian school leaders periodically. And we saw a lot of the strong teachers unions and said we have to start advocating more for ourselves, for Christian education. And so we decided to coalesce as a body of Christian schools, and we hired a lobbyist to lobby for Christian education down at the state legislature. And that's grown, and we've grown to a number of schools in the state of Arizona. But this summit does exactly what we're trying to do, is engage with our legislatures in a positive way so that we can make a difference, and all the issues that we want for our Christian schools, plus our mission is to have parents have the freedom to choose and have access. We always use the word access to the schools that they feel best serve their children.
Based on your personal experience, how can educators get involved in advocacy?
If possible, do what we did in the state of Arizona. It didn't take rocket science. We just decided to get together as Christian schools. We all have the same mission, and sometimes I think we try to exist in silos and almost compete against each other as Christian schools, and we have to learn to work together if we want to further Christian education and have future generations that stand for truth and can be great future leaders and godly men and women in our communities and our churches and in our governments as well. And so they don't have to formally, I guess, form a coalition, but it does help because our mantra is the more voices we have, a louder voice we have, our legislatures begin to pay attention to us. You can get involved in summits like this to learn how to engage with legislatures. You can do simple things as invite your legislators to your campus. It doesn't have to be an agenda on your part, just so they get to know a little bit about Christian schools and Christian educations. There's easy ways you can do that. Your Veterans Day chapels, they love to come to those types of things. Concerts, athletic events, all those types of things are easy ways to have your state members come to your campus as well. And we, as a school, when I was head of school, we made great traction with our legislatures that way. They can see how you serve your communities. We definitely, as a school, always served our community in a bunch of ways too. So those are some ways that you can make sure that you engage with your legislatures.
Next year's summit is already on the schedule for September 2026. You can learn more and fill out an inquiry form at acsi.org/summit. Now, switching gears, we want to talk about the transition on ACSI's board of directors. Elisa Carlson is the head of school at Central Christian School in Redmond, Oregon, is taking over as the new ACSI board chair for Todd Mara, who's served faithfully the last couple of years. Let's hear from Elisa and what she's excited about during her tenure as the ACSI board chair.
Right now, being a part of ACSI it's exciting because not only do we have leadership networks, training for teachers, what's happening with the online platform and online PD, I believe can transform schools, and we're so close to what can happen there. Our accreditation pathways, we have multiple ways for schools to focus on school improvement. And now that it's tied to our Flourishing Schools research, that's exciting. That's exciting for me as a school leader. I'm involved in accreditation with ACSI as well, and I have seen just what the power of accreditation in moving our school toward excellence, and how those two have come together has been really powerful for me as a school leader. I think the other piece that I see is that there is something, and I know it's a part of ACSI where we say that we're stronger together, but we really are. You know, when you think about that, we have an opportunity to advance Christian schools worldwide, but I can email our division director and get personal information because she knows who I am. Also, our field director model. There's just so many ways that as a school leader, I can be strengthened through ACSI. And so my encouragement to other school leaders is to take advantage of all of the different networks, all of the ways that we aren't leading through a way of being isolated. You know, I would say in private school leadership, there can be a tendency for that because in public schools, you're usually in a district and there's just a lot of camaraderie, a lot of coming alongside. And often when you lead a Christian school, you can feel like you're out there alone. And a lot of our schools are 300 or less. And so the support, especially for leaders within each of those schools, is minimal often. And so being able to reach out to a network and have, instant camaraderie because they understand the calling, but also really wise counsel is huge for me. You know, ACSI's fingerprint is on so much of our school, right? Even when I first went to Central, we needed help with our board policies. You know, I reached out to ACSI, they had samples, and then I was encouraged then there was a regional director. He let me know of some schools that were strong in our state. So I reached out to a school and he shared all of his policies with me. So there were just so many pieces that I actually witnessed as a school leader that I think are the heart of who ACSI is. And so what we're attempting to do is to see that move globally with more intention, right? And that's daunting, but we know that, the Lord holds it all. And so that's why we have to lean on him for the strategies, right?
We've also got a story about Elisa Carlson on the ACSI story page about her background, how she got into Christian education, so you can learn more about her there. She mentioned accreditation. We want to talk a little bit about exemplary accreditation. For more on that, let's hear from Becky Hansard, the head of school at Silverdale Baptist Academy in Chattanooga, Tennessee.
We decided 7 years ago to do exemplary. It was right when it first came out, and I was intrigued because it really called up looking at the governance and looking at the leadership and the finances, and I appreciated that. I feel like what happened out of our process is it gave me a way to streamline everything. So the accreditation process we'd done for years, but until we went exemplary, I don't think our people really put the pieces together. And so we began to develop our strategic plan 1 to 3 years, always off of the exemplary visit and the standards and the benchmarks. And it has been an incredible process of bringing all the pieces together and connecting everything. And it has even done that with our parents and with our students, because then we begin to speak the same language all the way across the school.
You can learn more at acsi.org/accreditation. Whether your school is ready for exemplary accreditation, you just want to learn more about the Inspire protocol for ACSI accreditation overall, whatever that may be. Now, to finish out our time in this podcast episode, we want to hear a story from a school in Louisiana, an ACSI school that experienced a lot of growth recently and a revival of sorts from their student body. Their incoming senior class last year at a junior retreat towards the end of their school year really set the stage. Some of their students were calling each other out and encouraging each other to go into their senior year on a high note. They went into the summer doing Bible studies and that sort of thing. And they came into this year with a lot of encouragement and a lot of energy. For more on that story, here's Sean Englert. He's the director of spiritual life at Northlake Christian School in Covington, Louisiana.
They came into the school year just really believing that a movement of God was going to happen, expecting God to show up in big ways. And so we do a junior senior retreat like the second weekend in August when all the kids come back. And we had 180 students at that retreat. And we had a worship night that night with a message. And as soon as the speaker said amen, I mean, kids popped up and they were, praying for one another. They were talking to teachers. They were being open and transparent. And it was just a really beautiful moment with all these teenagers. And it was genuine and it was wholesome. And I mean, it was heartfelt. I mean, it was all the things that, as a leader in a Christian school, you're praying for and really desiring to see in your student body. And so we come out of that retreat and it's Monday and we have chapels on Wednesdays, and some of the seniors basically got me and a few other people who are responsible for planning chapels. They got us together and said, hey, this Wednesday, we just want to share what God's doing in our class with the rest of the student body. And we want to encourage them to pursue the Lord. Anytime a student has a mic, the students listen, 10 times more than if I was speaking or anyone else. And it was just such a beautiful moment. And then we all prayed together and we worshiped some more, and we couldn't stop the worship. So it was kind of neat. I mean, the principal was cool about it. The teachers were cool about it, but chapel lasted probably an additional 40 minutes that day. Just kids at the altar singing, raising their hands. And what's remarkable and really cool in the video is that whole kind of front row of guys at the stage. That's all football players. It's all the guys that, you typically would kind of stereotype as being too cool for this kind of thing, but they're right out in the front, kind of leading the charge. And it's been really awesome. We kind of sent out a response form after that chapel just to see how we can follow up with students and partner with them. And from that form, we had 50 kids say that they prayed to receive salvation that day. And that's just the ones that we know about.
Well, what an encouraging story, and hopefully just one awesome example of what can and is happening in Christian education. You can learn more about Northlake Christian Story on the ACSI Stories page. Well, thanks so much for joining us on the Stronger Together podcast. We hope you have a great rest of your week and month. I'm Josh Ward. Thanks so much for tuning in.